Very good morning to all of you. My name is Ankit Vyas, and on the today's discussion, we are going to discuss about the different hardware devices. Generally, if we are talking about the computers, so we have two things. One is the hardware, which is called as in tangible things. It means the parts which we can touch, which we can see, which we can repair, right? And another thing is that is the software, right? So on the today's discussion, we are discussing about the various physical components or various physical devices or the devices that we can touch, that we can see, that we can repair on the today's discussion. So let's have a look on a various category of devices on the coming presentations. Dear students, this is very much clear that if we are talking about some hardware, so generally we are talking about the devices or the parts of the computers that we can see, right? So initially we have input devices, right? Input is nothing but yes, input means instructions. Generally computers works on the following methodologies: inputting, storing, processing, outputting, and controlling, right? So input device is something by which we are providing some instructions or some input to the computer, that is known as an input devices. So generally an input devices is any peripheral means piece of computer hardware equipments used to provide data and control signals to an information processing system such as computer. So let's have a look on various input devices which is being shown for your convenience, as we have mouse over here, as we have writing pad over here, we have a scanner over here, we have camera over here, we have keyboard over here, and we have fingerprint sensor over here. Then after we have output devices. Output devices is nothing but yes, it is the devices which facilitate us to produce the output in any form, or whether in digital form, whether in any other form. Generally we have two kinds of outputs that generally we are holding. One is the hard copy output, another one is the soft copy output. So the output which is being provided by the computer in hard copy papers format, so that is known as in hard copy output. And the output which is being displayed in the screen or which is not in the paper based format, it means that is in the digital form, so that is known as in soft copy output. So it is any piece of computer hardware equipments which is used to communicate the results of data processing carried out by an information processing system such as a computer to the outside world. As we have speakers, or as we have music studio which is being shown over here, as we have display screen or monitor or TFT or whatever screen we are using, and for the hard copy output we are using printer. Now, very important thing, the devices which is used for data transmission within the network, which is known as in communication devices or network devices. See, students, communication devices is nothing but yes, it facilitate us to communicate uh, within the network. It means, suppose we have multiple computers available within the network, right? And we are going to share certain resources on that particular network. So for that, we have the communication devices as modem is being shown for your convenience, or as switch is also being shown for your convenience. So let's have a look on these physical communication devices. Now let us see that yes, what is system unit, right? Or what are the major components of the system? So students, generally system unit, which is also known as a base unit, is the main body of desktop computer, typically consists of an enclosure containing the motherboard, power supply, cooling fans, internal disk drives, and the memory modules and expansion cards that are plugged into motherboard, such as video and network cards, etc. So system unit is nothing but yes, what are the major components, or what are the major internal components that computer systems contain. So let's have a look on various system units which is being shown in front of you for your convenience. Now on the coming discussions, we are discussing about the various internal components which is being attached inside our tower or inside our CPU. So the very first important device is the motherboard, which is also known as in circuit board, or which is also called the power board. See, the main circuit board of a microcomputer, the motherboard contains the connectors for attaching additional boards. Typically, the motherboard contains the CPU, BIOS, memory, mass storage interfaces, USB ports, expansion slots, and all the controllers required to control standard peripheral devices such as the display screen, keyboard, and disk drive. Collectively, all these chips that resides on the motherboard are known as the motherboard's chipset. So let's have a look of the internal structure or the basic structure of motherboard, which is being shown for your own convenience. Now we have the system clock. Generally, system clock is nothing but that determine the clock speed of the computer, which is speed at which a microprocessor executes instructions. Every computer contains internal clock that regulates the rate at which instructions are executed and synchronizes all the various computers components. It means what I'm trying to say, that yes, system clock is nothing but yes, that provides any computer system that yes, how long any instruction is being proceeded, or how much duration of time any system will take to get complete any instructions, right? So that is known as in system clock. And generally, whatever instruction is being processing within the system, right, so that particular duration is known as in clock rate in the terms of the computer system. Now, let us discuss the term storage. Students, generally we have two kinds of storage which is more useful, right? As we have primary storage, as we have internal storage, as we have volatile storage, and we do have secondary storage, that is known as an external storage, and that is also called as a non-volatile storage, right? So let us have a look on the primary storage first, right? So primary storage, presently known as memory, is only directly accessible to the CPU, and the CPU continuously reads instructions stored there and executes them as required. All the computers have primary storages, as we have read-only memory. The brief elaborations that I have already mentioned for your convenience. We have random access memory, that is RAM, or which is called the main memory, or which is also known as in primary memory of the computer system. And the very important thing that BIOS firmware, right? BIOS is a boot firmware that is designed to be first code run by a PC when power on. The initial function of the BIOS is to identify, test, and initialize system devices such as video, display cards, hard disk, and other hardware, and the whole process is known as an POST, that is post, or which is simplifying as power on self test. Then we have secondary storage, which is known as in permanent storage, or which is also called as in non-volatile storages. See, it is not directly accessible by the CPU. The computer must transfer the desired data into primary storage before it can be used. Secondary storage does not lose the data when the device is powered on. It means that secondary storage is also known as a non-volatile. Non-volatile means it doesn't mean that it is somehow, related to the electricity or related to the power supply. As it is very much clear that if you are working on any computer system, and if instantly electricity goes out, so we are not able to get it complete, because that RAM has stopped working, because that is purely based on the electricity, or that is the reason that it is volatile in nature, right? So if RAM has stopped working, so definitely we are not able to work on computer system. But similarly, if we do have any data available in any secondary storage, or any hard disk, or any pen drive, or any optical disk, right? So it is being there until we didn't delete that particular data. As we have deleted any data from our pen drive, so definitely there was nothing over there, right? But yes, by the time we don't have deleted that particular data, so things are there, right? So if things are there, so definitely we can use that particular thing, right? So that kind of a storage is known as in secondary storage. Very important thing is the CPU, basically, or the brain of the computer system. It is abbreviation of a central processing unit and pronounced as a separate letters. The CPU is the brain of the computer systems, as I have already told you, sometimes referred to simply as the central processor, but more commonly called processor. The CPU, where most calculations takes place in terms of computing power, the CPU is the most important element of the computer system. Next thing is the buses or wires. Generally, bus is a collection of wires through which data is translated from one part of computer to another. We can think of a bus as a highway on which data travels within a computer. When used in reference to personal components, the term bus usually refers to internal bus. This is a bus that connects all the internal computer components to the CPU and main memory. There is also an there is also an expansion bus that enables expansion boards to access the CPU and memory. Example includes PCI and PCI Express of expansion boards and SATA of hard drives. So students, bus are nothing but yes, it is a kind of platform, or it is a kind of socket in terms of the electricity that allow us to connect various kind of storage devices or some other devices, some network devices within the computer system, right? So that is known as in bus. Now we have external. See, a bus that connects a computer to peripheral devices. The most commonly used external bus is the universal serial bus, that is known as an USB, but there is also third o- that is but there is also Thunderbolt, Firewire, Firewire, and eSATA, that is known as an external SATA that generally our computer system is holding internally. Now we have expansion cards. See, expansion card, also expansion board, adapter card, and or accessory card in computing is a printed circuit board that can be inserted into expansion slot of a motherboard to add additional functionality to a computer system. Example includes video card, sound card, network cards, or TV tuner cards, or a kind of various cards that generally we are using in our computer systems. Now, what is the difference between desktop and server, or desktop versus server? See, designating a machine or hardware's server hardware or server class hardware implies that it is more powerful and, more importantly, more reliable than standard personal computers or components. See, students, desktop is the personal computers where we do have some personal information, where we have some personal data of on which we are working, and server was the master computer. Server means a computer or a high configuration computer which provides us the various kind of services, or which maintains the various personal computers. Generally, server is nothing but, yes, server provides the facility to different clients computers, and clients obtain the data from the server computers. It means both are parallel to each other, right? So that is how we have server and the desktop computers. So finally, I would like to thanks all of you for watching my videos. I hope you all like each and everything. If you have any issue, then you feel free to call me. My number is 98970 12247, or kindly go through my YouTube channel, that is Computer Science with Ankit Vyas. So please hit like, share, and subscribe. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks again.